evening. I'm Beata Nowicka, and Kurdej-Szatan is our guest. Artist, actress, mother, wife, woman, citizen, Pole. That's important in the context of the title of this meeting. Should artists keep silent? At 5 p.m. she was performing on stage in the theater. I came straight from the theater. We are traveling with Porwanie Kidnapping performance starring Antoni Pawlicki, and we were discussing different topics. I wanted to ask them what their opinions were. So I stepped out from the stage. I rushed here, and I'm very happy to be here. You said that your performance is very up to date. Well, it was up to date much before, and it will remain up to date. This is a story of my brother, played by Piotr Grabowski, or Marcin Perchuć, kidnaps the minister's son. They kidnap the boy because we and my husband, we siblings and my husband, have a stall in a street market, and the minister wants to sell this plot of land to build a shopping mall in this place. We rebel because the street market is 50 years old. People who work there are like a family, and we can't even imagine it will be sold so that a person gains millions in such a gorgeous place. And my brother comes across an idea to kidnap the minister's son, and a lot of things are happening. I do recommend watching this performance, this play. That's not the only one you star in. I also star in Chicago as Roxy in Krakow. Everything is so up to date. Chicago was like therapy for me after all these terrible situations I experienced. This musical dates back from 1950s, and it shows the absurd of show business, how strongly it can be manipulated, how court cases are performed and manipulated. When I entered the stage and played Roxy, I felt as if I had to overcome my fears. I was simply afraid to perform on stage. I'm a bit chaotic, but it was like therapy for me. When I was going to play, I learned that I had been shown in Belarusian television, so I got hysterical and I was afraid to perform. And Sztur's family tomb was sprayed with paint in Krakow, but I performed, and it was like therapy for me. So let's put your professional activity away for a moment. You're an actress and a singer. Let's come back to the incident last year, but also let's take a step back. You supported Rafał Trzaskowski in the election. You were fighting for free courts. You participated in a women's strike. Right, I had been involved in such issues. I had always been expressing what I feel, and I don't understand why I shouldn't do so. Everybody thinks that now, after the situation when I wrote what I wrote, I was made redundant from Polish television. But I had been redundant 3 years before. I was dismissed with one phone call from Voice of Poland, Dance, 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 Opole Musical Festival, my family town. And the festival has always been very important for me. It was really sad for me. I was made redundant from work, which I did well. Producers were fighting for me, and I was dismissed from a job that I never criticized. I never criticized my employer. I did my job 1000%, but I was made redundant because I had my opinion and I voiced it as a citizen of this country. I posted some photos from marches. It was nothing as serious as it was treated. During the only private conversation I had with Mr. Kurski, that was the moment when Tomasz Kamal was also participating in marches, Mr. Kurski said, "Everybody tells me not to employ you, but I know you are professionals and I want to have professionals." And a year later, I was made redundant, so perhaps the pressure must have been very strong. Nearly 4 years ago, I was made redundant from being the face of Polish television, and I was starring in M for Love, miłość, and I could play my role. I think somebody was looking for a good excuse. I responded emotionally to what was happening at the border, that nobody was helping these people, that we let innocent people die on our land. That's a nightmare. I feel like crying when I see these little children. How can you be made redundant in the era of new technologies? Were you texted? Got an email? 4 years ago, I answered a phone call from a Polish television production employee. And as for the TV series, I was made redundant through Twitter. Mr. Kurski wrote Twitter on his that he made me redundant. That was symbolic because we had Adam Michnik and Mr. Frasyniuk participating in the previous panel. Mr. Frasyniuk had the same accusation of offending the border guards. You have just been speaking. What did he tell you? He said he knew who I am, and he greeted my mom, and because they know from the Union of Liberty. What about your court case? You were accused of offending the border guards. A year has passed, and let me start with the prosecutor accusing me. I have said it, but then learned that the left-wing websites shared only a small piece of this information. The prosecutor accusing me She was nominated by Ziobro a few years ago for this function. She got a case of a gentleman who said, "When will we end political correctness in Europe and will be able to shoot towards people from black people?" And she didn't share it, and she dismissed the case. In my case, despite excusing for what I did, apologizing for what I did, I am a person involved in different volunteering actions. I was treated as a criminal, and right-wing websites wrote that I was simply complaining about being treated, but they didn't write about the man who said about shooting two Pakis. I was treated like a criminal, and the case went to court in Mokotów. The court could dismiss it because it was like misdemeanor, but they accepted the case. After learning the documents, the court issued the opinion that it should go to court in Pruszków, because when I committed this crime, I was sitting in the car, and it was in the Pruszków county. The court in Pruszków accepted it, but then the prosecutor decided she would rather have the case in Mokotów. It takes several days. The Mokotów court did not share the prosecutor's opinion and sent it again to Pruszków. I received these letters and I have it at the back of my head. Then the court in Pruszków decided that all stakeholders come from Warsaw, because I moved to Warsaw. The prosecutor is from Warsaw, and hence it should come back to Warsaw, because the claimant is also from Warsaw. And who the claimant was? It was the border guards. Then the court in Mokotów issued the opinion. They did not agree with the court in Pruszków. And the court in Pruszków described the entire communication, that there are some traffic problems. Then the court decided that it should come back to Pruszków. So now I'm waiting what will follow. What did the lawyers tell you? What are your chances to finish it with no fine, no punishment? Nobody knows. Nobody knows who is going to deal with it. How do you feel about it? It has happened, you cannot change it. It is principally used by the media. And they wanted to make it more serious than it really is, to stimulate fear and to threaten people so that they didn't offend the authorities. And they succeeded, because few people decide to reveal their opinions in public. People working for Polish television in private conversations say that they're waiting for the authority to change. I will never say it in public because they are afraid of losing their jobs. There are plenty of such people. Well, you know, it's human that people are afraid of losing the job. I understand it. everybody has their conscience. People do what they feel is right. Some have to maintain their families and they are breadwinners. But it's really sad that we live in the times when some have to be ashamed of where they work. We live in the times when politics is everywhere. Several years ago, we didn't have to think about it so much. There were elections, we were voting whenever there were more interesting issues or cases, we were more interested, but not to such a scale. Married couples argue because they share different political stance. It's not possible to talk to one another because everybody yells at one another. The same happened during shooting our films. Some people were talking nonsense, and another one was so furious that they couldn't maintain reasonable arguments. That's the way it is. We are no longer able to discuss because we are divided. It is disgusting and it's sad and it's tiring as well. Some are afraid to live in their own country. I don't know if people who are influenced by the governing party, I may come across a crazy person like the one who killed President Maja Adamowicz.
You said that it was a very strong emotion for you and that you were frightened. So who provides you support in such extreme situations? I have known you for quite a while and I know it's an extreme situation. I have great friends and family, and at times like this, this is the most important. It was a hard year. I've changed in a way. I wanted to ask you how it changed you. I am not so open and spontaneous as I used to be, so I lost this spontaneous approach. I do not trust people, and I don't feel good with it. I noticed that you have a great weapon through Instagram. Yes, it offers a great reach, but now it's no longer a lot of support. People clicked me, but some people follow me. There is Instagram, Facebook, 300,000. It's a huge reach. How can you use it apart from your work? Have you shared some information through Facebook after the incidents with the border guard, something about your political involvement or your charity campaign? I have always worked for charities. I have founded my foundation. I also run special telephone line. I want to make sure that it will function. It is hard to raise funding. I often pay myself for psychologists because they are on duty every day, and we have two lines, Polish and Ukrainian. For the past 6 months, I've been paying psychologists, but I won't be able to continue it for long because now I don't play in advertisements. I have less work. Mainly I work in the theater. So it's not easy, but I would like to keep this foundation going. So I have to fight for it because I have to pay for it, but people who call, they use this service free of charge, and I want to make sure that this line functions, that the telephone rings and supports people. Psychologists that are answering these calls are qualified psychologists, and they are waiting for these calls. This telephone line initially was started to help refugees. And also to voluntaries, to board guards, the families for people who ran away, who managed to come to Poland, to residents of those areas who feel as if they were in the war because all the time they live among soldiers. So it's very traumatic. So that's why I decided to have this telephone service. Anyone who has been affected by the war, there are lots of Ukrainians who live in Poland. So we meet with them, and if we feel that we have been influenced by the war and we can't cope, then we can use this telephone service. So it's available for everyone, so please promote it. Anyone can call. In Poland, we are shy to go to psychologists. We are shy to go to many services, and there is this perception that if somebody goes to a psychologist, that means he's crazy, he's got a mental disease. And my friend told me, she lives in the United States, and she said that if you have a toothache, you go to a dentist. If you have a problem with your psyche, with your mental state, and you need support, you simply go to a psychologist. So she encouraged me to go to a psychologist, and that was very helpful. The psychologist didn't impose anything on me. She was just asking very good questions. These questions opened me up, and I realized many things. So I would really like to encourage you to use psychotherapy. I know that psychotherapy also is very expensive. So if you need such assistance, you can just use this telephone service. It's free of charge. These are also the people who work with those who work at the border crossings. For the past 25 years, I've been delivering interviews. I know your circles very well, so I wonder how your colleagues behaved when you became the victim. You faced a lot of attacks. Well. If my colleagues were asked by journalists publicly, they were expressing some support, but mainly they were writing to me privately. I didn't feel alone. I received a lot of messages, and some people were willing to speak publicly, and that was great. If somebody didn't want to do that, I have nothing against them. So anyone who knows me, actually, people supported me. Nobody attacked you. I mean, your colleagues from work, nobody attacked you. I haven't seen many interviews that would indicate that somebody had attacked. So are you brave after your mom? Actually, I spoke with your mom. I know how she acted when she was a politician. Yes, my mom is a very strong woman. She was always very active. She was a director in Opole. Then she was the deputy director in the Philharmonic. Then she worked for the Marshal's office. And her first job was a Polish teacher. My mom, during the communist time, she was distributing solidarity leaflets, so she was made redundant from her work. So probably I am brave after her. I am open and I say what I think. So you told me that your colleagues tell you in private contacts what they think of the situation, but they don't really talk about it in public. Well, of course, then if somebody speaks like that, people are open to hatred. So you just have to be very brave, or you just can't think about it. If I think that something is terrible and things like that shouldn't happen in our country. I'm not a politician. I'm not speaking as a politician. I love being an actress. I love being on stage, and this is what I want to do. I'm an actress and a citizen, mother, wife, Pole. When I see that in Poland there are such atrocities, I react. It's nothing. I don't think it's illegal. Well, it shouldn't be perceived as illegal. Basia, tell us about your artistic work. What do you do right now? I told the audience that you came from the theater. What are your plans, for example, in terms of movie making? Where can we see you? Now I'm just doing some rehearsals for a play. There was the premiere of one play. We're having a tour around Poland. It's a comedy. I was even quite surprised that people laugh so loud. We are making a play, and you never know how the audience will react, whether they will like it or not. But this play turned very successful. So now I am in some rehearsals to the play. Try at least twice. It's a story of a married couple who got divorced, and after many years they meet up again, and they discover that they really are in love. And we are doing it in Variete Theatre in Krakow. Only two actors play, so I play with Michał Staszczak. So it will be mainly shown in Krakow, but maybe we will also visit other theaters in other cities. I was also making a series. It will be shown maybe in December through Polsat Box TV channel. A year ago, we made a movie, but as a result of the pandemic, there are so many movies, they are waiting for their premieres. We were waiting for a long time. This movie was made over 12 months ago, and the first showing will be in January. So you will be able to see it in the cinemas. So all these events that happened in your life, which led to some consequences that you stopped working for the public TV, has it changed you as an actress? Did you have to grow up faster and faster? Well, no, it didn't influence my acting work. When it comes to my job, well, I actually lost a regular job because I'm Miłość series and play commercial. It was my permanent job. So now I don't have any regular permanent job. I have some projects. Well, actually, this is quite typical for actors. We live from a project to a project. I've got some theater plays, but if there is another pandemic, they will close theaters down. So my profession is quite uncertain, but it's beautiful. I love being an actress. We cannot be certain, but we love it, and it's a great compensation. Have you ever known that you wanted to be an actress? You could have been a politician like your mom. My dad actually wanted me to be an electrician. I always knew that I loved singing. When I was 7, I was in the music school, I was playing cello, I was going to theater and arts workshops, so I always knew that I loved it. But only in my final year of the secondary school, I decided that I would study at the theater school, but I only applied to Krakow and Gdynia school, and only in these schools there was the specialization of singing. Another topic, very sensitive, were you bullied in the Krakow school? Well, you graduated from the Krakow school and there were some problems. Actually, in Łódź. No, it started with Krakow. No, I wasn't bullied. Maybe you have hard skin, so you didn't experience it. And we also speak about it with my colleagues who are actors, even people who have graduated from Łódź, they perceive the situation a little differently. I'm afraid I cannot hear the speaker. Well, it's good. I think that some behaviors are addressed, some issues, some behaviors that couldn't happen. So we should be more sensitive to such incidents. I have never been to Łódź school, so I don't know. But some people thought it was really strongly exaggerated. So somebody said that he or she suffers from bipolar disease. So people can be hurt due to such opinions that are not always true, or maybe they were true, but I don't know. I was not a student. I didn't experience anywhere. I took part, of course, at the first reception party, first in Gdynia, because I was in the School of Musical there, and then I moved to Krakow. Not everyone has to go through this process of becoming the student. It's like assuming a role. They told us what it was going to be about when we decided to take part in this event. So even if there were behaviors that were a bit extreme, it was slightly frustrating, but it was due to the fact that we were very, very tired. That's why we were so frustrated. But after this event of becoming a student, we decided that we all like one another. So when I was in Gdynia, there were different moments. We were crying, we were furious. There were also beautiful moments that united us. So when I was in Gdynia, only for 1 year, after 4 years of studies in Krakow, I thought that this first year in Gdynia I was more familiar with this 1 year in Gdynia, because the emotions were so extreme during this becoming the student event. We really became very familiar. But if somebody was not very strong mentally, maybe this person wouldn't be able to go ahead with this event. It was quite tough. My memories are good. You are talking about yourself. So this is what happens with these attacks. If somebody says something evil about you, everyone else starts saying that. Everybody wants to throw stones at you. So I have good memories from Gdynia. I'm aware of them. I know what was happening. And it's not that somebody wanted to harm me. It was a form of assuming a role. The audience came to talk to you, to listen to you. So after our panel, there will be panel by Robert Makłowicz. So maybe this is high time we gave the floor to the audience. The only chance to ask a question to Basia. Don't be shy. Good evening. My name is Maciej. Maybe it's not a question. I am listening to your speech. I know your situation with the border guards, and I think it's not allowed because you didn't commit any offense. It was just an emotional message. Many people communicate in this way. Or this worst example with this racist who was to be treated, who was going to be persecuted by this prosecutor. So I see it very negatively, but I do admire you for your attitude. Thank you very much. I used obscene language, but it was just a reaction to this atrocity, to suffering, terrible suffering of babies, small babies and women. I do not understand why this case was used politically to frighten people. It's really sad on the one hand, and on the other, that they are really very harsh, they are cruel. So this is how I see it. Good evening, Malwina Nowak-Luty. I wanted to thank you for your post. I don't know if it was exaggerated or not. When I was listening to the speeches by Kaczyński, they are much more exaggerated, and he deserves the attention of prosecutor's office than your words. They were the words everybody agrees, especially if you are a mother, a Pole, a human being who is sensitive. So everyone who is like that and seen these events would behave like you. Everything that has happened is an attack against democracy. As you have said, some of your colleagues still work for TVP station because they have to, because they are the breadwinners and they are afraid to speak loudly that they do not agree with the government. This is one of the saddest things I have heard recently. I'm afraid that this is true. Your words are true, and it just shows how this government destroyed a big part of our democracy, and that they are keen to destroy it even more. I think it's a very good summary.
Apart from that, the saddest thing is that different people from the other side of the political stage offended other people, and nothing happened. And I have to go to court. That's not fair, but that's the way they work. So me first, because I've got the microphone. Okay, I can see you now. You found the courage to voice your opinion in an important matter. Do you think that other public people, actors, have the duty to refer to public debate issues? Nobody has the obligation. Everybody has their conscience, and every single person should do what they think is right. But on the occasion of our tour, I talked to my colleagues to find out what they think. And one of them thought that actors shouldn't express their opinions because our roles can be perceived in a different way. Another one said we should voice our opinions. Why not? Because once Kazimierz Demek said that the actor is supposed to play just like your ass is supposed to defecate. I'm an actress, I'm a mother, I'm a woman, I'm a Pole and a citizen of this country. This is our common land. If such a tragedy is happening here, why shouldn't I voice my opinion? I understand that not everybody may like it, but we have the right to do so. We have the right to express our opinions. And we reach the conclusion that nowadays the majority of artistic milieus are against the current authority. Their attitude, their humiliation, their disrespect deprives us of the right to express our opinions, and we have the right to do so, just like every other citizen in this country. That was our conclusion. What you just said inspired me, but paradoxically, it would be a question to our audience. You can't answer this, audience. When you watch Maciej Sztur, who is politically involved, when you watch Basia, Maja Ostaszewska, do you perceive their roles in a different way, seeing their engagement? These are the three people. I'm sorry, no microphone, no interpretation. We perceive you with greater respect than those who sit and keep silent. Perhaps they will find a better job and they will be the breadwinners for their families. I still think that the best thing in your life was being dismissed from the Polish public television. I would like to congratulate you on this decision, but looking into the mirror, you will definitely feel better. You're right. The- Answering your question, I was considering it. When I look at Maciej Sztur, Maja Ostaszewska, as an actress who does this job, I could watch films and not feel the emotions. I entered the story. If something is said beautifully, it's nice to watch. So, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. If somebody doesn't like me for what I said and doesn't want to watch me, well, it's a pity, but you cannot like everybody. You can watch another film. I don't mind watching my engaged actresses and actors. Okay, I can give the floor to you. I am Sylvia. I represent the generation that had its revolution. When I look at such challenges that Maya, Basia, and Maciej face, I'm proud of you. You play your roles, but your social attitude and fight with the evil reassures me. Young people will understand it, and they will not wait until internet is taken from them. That's a good argument. I also rely on young people, and I think they're wise. A round of applause for our youth. Okay, so perhaps now I'll succeed. Good evening. Taking the opportunity, I would like to say that recently I haven't seen you on television, and it's a shame because I loved the warmth you brought to the commercials, apart from good play, but definitely they reduced the opportunity to star in TV shows, in commercials. And one thing that comes to my mind is I have just returned from Erasmus Plus devoted to human rights. Defending some human rights, you were deprived of your rights, such as the right for work. There are 50 human rights, the right for identity, and my question is, have you considered or have you tried turning to European Union for assistance? because you were deprived of your rights. And this is what the European Union tries to fight for. Perhaps there'll be some institutions that could help you, support you. Perhaps there are. I was so terrified and withdrawn that I didn't take it into consideration. But thank you for mentioning it. Perhaps I'll do something about it. Doda has just won with Poland. I don't know if you're aware of it. In 2012, she said something about church. I don't remember exactly. And now, after 10 years, she won. I don't know which court issued the decision. I will check it and tell you. Or I will check it right now. I can ask a question then. Writing this in Strasbourg, writing the post, you were expecting a response. Was it as negative as you expected or much stronger? Hate and negative responses have been my mundane reality for 10 years, but then it came as a shock. It was everywhere. Apart from apologizing and removing the post, when I posted it, the situation at the border was calm and quiet. We only learned that some groups of people were staying in the forest. There were some videos which were recorded by those who still had their smartphones and batteries. For me, it was unbelievable that nobody helped them. I considered it a good idea to check them, to help them, to do something about it. It was just, and they were looking at these people, keeping them in the forest and letting them freeze to death. That was a nightmare. Several days after I posted it, I had bad luck because several days later, the entire groups of people arrived in Belarus. They sent them to the border and the situation became dangerous. Then nobody was interested in the fact that my post had been published before. That was the moment when they used my post saying, "Our soldiers defend our borders," and she's offending them. I was also shown on the news in public television and quoted. It occurred everywhere in all news services. Text messages were sent to post just like alert with the information that Barbara Kurdej-Szatan offended the border guards. Do you consider it a scandal? Send a free text message at my friends, my acquaintances got such text messages. I don't know who was sending the text messages, but the volume of this attack made me scared. I started being afraid about for the life of myself, of my family. I was afraid that somebody like the mayor's murderer could also attack me. That was not so incidental. I felt really bad, so it was too much for me. Is it the answer to your question? Do you mean that Basia was expecting sympathy? Was that your point? I simply asked about how negative response you expected. Any other questions? Yes, I do have a question concerning artists, singers, actors who perform for public television. Doda, whom you have mentioned, she said she is banned on public television because the CEO's wife didn't like her, but she's now the head of the morning TV show. I wanted to ask you about such artists. Doda said she didn't want to become a part of a political conflict because she has a group of people whom she can reach through public television. Not everybody watches TV, and because of the political links. Actor, every artist, singer have different followers and audience from different political parties. Well, it should be beyond politics, but this is not the country we live in. It shouldn't be like that. You can follow with your vision. She is banned on commercial television. Sorry, but what's your point? Doda has been banned for TVN because she supported her mom and her dad when there was an argument with Agnieszka Woźniak-Starak. Coming back to the essence, should the artist support political parties, just like in the USA, or not? I'm not a person who should tell what people should do. Let people do what they feel they should. It is related to some consequences, just like in my case. It means that some people may not like me, but we should be aware of it. Every person has the right to express their opinions. I'm coming back to what I have already said. We live in challenging times. It's sad that we have to deal with such situations. Several years ago, we didn't have to consider it. And now the politics is everywhere. It penetrates and infiltrates our friendships and families. I'm fed up with it. I'm not fed up with this conversation, but we need to finish because Robert Makłowicz is waiting with his team. Do you have any other questions? Yes, I do have a question. Do you think that in the future artists who perform for public television will rebel? No, no, no. If they wanted to rebel, they would have done it. If I may add, I would like to say I admire you for disclosing your opinion in public. Others sit and do nothing, and you didn't consider the potential consequences. You said what you were thinking. Thank you. It costs a lot, but I follow my stance. Thank you and goodbye. All the best to all of you.
It's not always easy to recognize. It may look like this, or like this. It may be a burden, but it is a responsibility that we embrace nonetheless. But if it means this for one person and this for someone else, maybe it ultimately means being there for one another. It isn't handed to us, but we know where to find it and how it feels, how it tastes, and what it sounds like when we finally have it. It means different things to different people, but for many, it means everything. And if we all fight for it, it will eventually bring us together.
Atlas Network is, as the name suggests, a network, and it's global. We work all around the world. We're based in the U.S. We have about 159 partners in the United States right now, and the bulk of our partners are outside, nearly 500 in total.
Atlas Network, it connects people from all over the world, defending the idea of human dignity, defending human rights and personal liberties.
Atlas Network is focusing on, I think, the most important and moral cause in the entire world.
We partner with local innovators, local leaders who understand conditions on the ground in communities facing real challenges. We look at the people from the worldwide freedom movement that are passionate, are ready to make a difference, understand local conditions, and we invest in them.
At Atlas Network, we unleash individual ingenuity to enrich humanity.
The United States does not have a lock on the idea of freedom and liberty. Those ideas are beyond borders.
One of the main goals of Atlas Network is to eradicate poverty around the world, and we do that by investing millions of dollars in our partners' work every year.
Historically, wealthy nations around the world have tried to help low-income countries develop. The way we've been doing it traditionally has not really been working. So there's a movement to do development differently, and that means we need to step back as outsiders and rethink the role that we're playing in helping people in low-income countries achieve their dreams.
We want to make the world a better place. We want to make the world a freer world.
All of us want to leave a legacy and be part of something big to make a better world. This is exactly the work of Atlas Network.
With our growing number of hundreds of successful partners, we're stronger than ever.
Changing the world.
Changing the world
Changing the world
starts together
with us.